Trevitt Hooper. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm the chef at Legume Bistro, and I am 39 years old. It started off as a very French bistro-y place, and kind of has evolved over the years to we have a lot more Eastern European influence, a lot more American influence. It's seasonal because we're trying to express like what is happening right now. What is there to celebrate? How can we make our food as like immediate as possible? I always get eggs every week and chickens.
Very tasty. They're very tasty.
I don't see myself as a farm-to-table proponent. I see myself as a chef trying to make the best food possible. Good chefs who cared about the food they're serving have always been farm-to-table. I think farm-to-table is a restaurant trend in the last 10 years or so, and I think that's wonderful, and that this idea that eating locally is more becoming a bigger known thing. But I think that I think for me it's a little bit political and a little bit trying to buy food from a person that cooking for your friends, your community, your family. I think those are all really important things, and I think that's done like on a highly localized way in different communities all over. There's certain times of the year where all of our food is really fresh. In the summer, late spring, summer, and parts of the fall, and then in the fall we do a lot of preservation. So we can't always get local fresh food. So that's why we turn our attention to preserving things in cans and jars and fermentation. We do a ton of duck confit in the fall and winter. The things I write about and the things I talk about, I want people to be aware of the reality of our food system. And it's so easy, and that means I want to point out all of the things that we have to do to really get food that is raised in a good way, and especially in a restaurant, it's really easy to greenwash. You can list a bunch of farmers on your menu, but that doesn't really say anything about the actual percentage of that food on the menu. You could list 10 farmers, but maybe only 10% of the food is actually from those farmers. When I was a young cook learning how to cook and working in other people's restaurants, it seemed like instead of farm to table, it was like farm to garnish. We had these beautiful, precious little baby carrots and microgreens, and then, but the meat in the center of the plate was, it's from a factory farm. And so what I want to be, what I want Legume to be, is a place where a significant percentage of the food, the meat, the starch, where much of it is, the bulk of it is actually raised in a good way and healthy and not from a factory farm, and the food that we would serve our family. So I think that's really what I want to be, I kind of want to be a thorn in the side to anybody who's going to greenwash and pretend that their food is something that it isn't. I was a musician. I was working really hard to get into New England Conservatory because I wanted to be in their jazz drumming program. And I was just playing all the time and developed carpal tunnel syndrome. And so I moved in back home with my parents. I was miserable. I was like 19, and I didn't have anything to do. Nothing. I had no other plan because my plan was to be a musician. And so all that energy just went into cooking around the house. I kind of I think about molecular gastronomy the way I think about like music and in the 80s. You know, like there were all these great bands from the 70s that just put out shitty albums in the 80s because in the beginning of the 80s there was all this like revolution in the recording industry, and there's all this new technology and drum machines, and like bands that should have no business using a drum machine were using a drum machine. And like there's a lot of awful music from the 80s because it just didn't make sense how they were using the technology. And I think we're seeing the same thing with molecular gastronomy. Like there's a lot of awful things that are being done with it. However, in the 80s, you also have great bands like Depeche Mode and, you know, so other bands that did awesome things with that technology. So I think we're going to see, you know, I think molecular gastronomy might be the brunt of a lot of jokes, but I think we're going to see, like the next generation, we're going to see like a lot of cool things being done with it. I don't think molecular gastronomy is dead at all. We're going to see this, like the Depeche Mode of cooking will come along, and it'll be cool, and it will become classic. Like I like doing techniques that are old, that have come from culture from a long period of time, and it's a collective shared knowledge, and that's really what I'm interested in cooking and sharing with others. The critique I have of like the modernist idea is that there's individuals and they're working in labs and they're going to develop something that is very proprietary, and then they're going to charge you for this information. And I don't like that. Doesn't mean I don't like the discoveries, and it doesn't mean I don't think that there's wonderful things to eat. It's just I would rather be involved. I'd rather spend my time in sharing information and being involved in a kind of old collective knowledge, I guess. I have so many friends just doing interesting things here. And I'm always, there's the lifestyle that you can have here, and to pursue your creative endeavors is just unbelievable. And I think that's why people are moving here, and why, and just that's why it's an awesome place.